We don't necessarily all want to learn how to be really good at sitting on our backside with our eyes closed, because we all have like busy lives, responsibilities and stuff. So we kind of need an exercise and a framework in which we can remove ourselves from that life and train in this sort of quality of mindfulness. That's all meditation is. I have no idea if that made any sense at all. As it came out of my mouth, I was like, what am I saying? I don't know.
I was like, sounds good, I want that.
Great. My name's Andy Puddicombe, this is Rich Pearson, and we're the co-founders of Headspace.
Headspace is a meditation platform that teaches you how to meditate on a daily basis using guided audio. It's only in English at the moment, it will be in other languages, but we have got members in 200 countries. And I would hope that the way that we've presented meditation, we talk about the mind, has made it more accessible and more acceptable for people to kind of put this into the conversation. And I think that helps to reframe it hopefully in a really positive way.
Yeah.
We've always struggled as human beings with the human condition. We've always struggled with, challenging emotions, and I think what's changed is that digital layer in our lives has left most of us feeling completely overwhelmed. 10 years ago, people weren't really willing to be vulnerable and to say, sometimes I find life difficult, but life is difficult and we all have a mind, and I think we all need a way to cope with the mind.
Because people say, oh, meditation's just a fad. It's like, well, it's a 3,000-year-old fad. Like, it's been around for a long time. And I think those things that have lasted that test of time can have a new version of it in the kind of world that we live in.
I was a Buddhist monk, so I'd gone off to the Himalayas, and it was quite late into that journey. I made the decision that I didn't have to be a monk in order to teach meditation. So I ended up going back to London and teaching meditation sort of one-to-one. It was pretty soon after that I met Rich.
I worked at an advertising agency. However, as a young person, I hadn't really been given the skills or the training to be able to handle that type of pressure, that type of work. It was so wonderful meeting Andy because he could present this ancient skill in a way that I could understand it, very like feet on the ground and practical and not kind of woo-woo or spiritual.
Hopefully.
And I think it was that moment, it was like, well, why don't more people know about this?
So just take a moment to get comfortable. Just checking in with the body, just noticing whether the body feels heavy or light.
In my own personal experiences, it creates the best conditions for good ideas to kind of come to fruition as you kind of process thinking and creativity in a more kind of thoughtful and mindful way.
The way I think about it is almost like a sort of a pool of water. So typically our mind is quite busy and quite ruffled. And when we meditate, the thoughts begin to slow down. The surface of the pool begins to sort of become a little bit clearer, and we're then able to look into the pool and we discover, actually, it's an incredible resource of creativity. We just never knew it was there. Often meditation is seen as in the mind, so it's hard to evaluate. But actually, when you look through an fMRI scanner, we see when we sit down to meditate, the parts of the brain often associated with focus or happiness, well-being, is receiving more blood flow, and as a consequence, that cortex is getting thicker, it's getting stronger. So it's not just a sort of a psychological phenomena, we're actually, the body itself is changing when we sit down to meditate. Headspace has been very deliberate. We set out with a team of scientists, and we're seeing not just against meditation, but against the use of Headspace, that it reduces stress, that it does increase compassion. And then we're really interested in looking at it not just from, does it improve, concentration and focus, which is typically how meditation is seen, but how does it apply to the broader world, and how does it impact relationships with the people around us. In demystifying meditation, we need to make it entertaining. And LA is the heart of entertainment, not just in California, not just in America, but in the world. And I feel like there's a really good cyclical pattern which is driving innovation in California.
You notice it in architecture, just knock down a house and start again. Which is really interesting. You got to come from London and everything's like a museum to history. And I think it's in that lack of holding on that kind of enables that spirit of change and creativity here, I would say. A lot of people have said that when they walk into the building, it feels like a physical representation of the app, which is great, because that was a feeling that we wanted to kind of transmit in it.
It's also down to the people in it and the intention behind the work that they do. We create a space in which people can meditate kind of regularly. So we have one at 10 in the morning, one at 3 in the afternoon. We have spaces where people can refuel or they can go and take a nap. And I think all of those things kind of create an environment of just, you know, very good, positive intention, and that helps to define the space in many ways.
The mission's always been the same, which is like, how do we improve the health and happiness of the world?
How do we recreate, you know, that idea of having a teacher and a student together in a room? And I feel if someone was wearing some piece of technology that sort of accurately relayed to them, you know, let's say they were getting stressed and their heart rate had elevated, and we were able to, at that moment, serve them up a piece of content based on, then there's an interesting conversation taking place. So I feel like that kind of technology and that advancement will kind of lead to some big changes. I think happiness and contentment are often misunderstood. I think actually what we all seek in life is not happiness, which is very transient, it comes and it goes, but is a deep sense of contentment and ease and peace of mind. That takes time. That's a journey of a lifetime, some would say many lifetimes.